extended after don't don't you have to get laid. Okay. Janie, close that door. What's the matter with you? Why aren't you doing what I tell you? I'll do whatever you tell me, Nana. That's right. Now go into that drawer and get that checkbook for me. The Chase Manhattan one, not the other one. Give me both of them. I'll show you which one. I can find it, Nana. No, it's not this one. Give me both of them. I'll do it. Here you are, Nana. This is the one you want, isn't it? Now sit yourself down and write yourself out a check for $10,000. It doesn't matter which check you write it on. $10,000? Are you sure about this, Nana? Do what I tell you. Write yourself out a check for $10,000. Okay. Well, what is the date? It doesn't matter. Put any date you want. Now hand me my glasses. They're over there. I'm just going to clean them. They're dirty. You can clean them for me later. Give them to me. Are you sure you want to do this? Now I'm going to tell you something, Janie. Invest this. Buy yourself 100 shares of AT&T, and you can fritter it away if you want. Good riddance to you. If your mother had invested in 800 shares of IBM I gave her, she would have had a steady income and wouldn't have had to commit suicide. Well, she needed the money. If you invest in AT&T, you'll always have income. I don't know what to say. I've never seen so much money before. You do what I tell you. Buy AT&T. I'll put the money in the bank, Nana. As soon as it clears, I'll buy AT&T. At 10 o'clock the next morning, Nana is still asleep. A rich salesman who was spending his winter in New York has installed her in a huge apartment on Park Avenue for 6 months. The apartment's rooms are tremendous, too big for her tiny body, and are still partly unfurnished. Thick silk daybed spreads ivory handled white feather fans hanging above the contrast, the black and red naturalistic clown portraits in the study that give an air of culture rather than of call girl. A call girl or mistress, as soon as her first man is gone, is no longer innocent. No one to help her, constantly harassed by rent and food bills, in need of elegant clothing and cosmetics to keep surviving. She has to use her sex to get money. Nana's sleeping on her stomach, her bare arms hugging instead of a man and a pillow, into which she's buried a face soft with sleep. The bedroom and the small adjoining dressing room are the only two properly furnished rooms. A ray of light, filtered through the gray, richly laid curtains, focuses a rosewood bedsteads. A ray of light, filtered through the gray, richly laced curtains, focuses of rosewood bedsteads, covered by carved Chinese figures. The bedstead covered by white linen sheets. She's covered by pale blue silk quilt. Covered by a pale white silk quilt. Chinese pictures composed of 5 to 7 layers of carved ivory, almost sculptures rather than pictures, surround these gleaming layers. She feels around and finding no one, calls her maid. Paul left 10 minutes ago, the girl says as she walks into the room. He didn't want to wake you. I asked him if he wanted coffee, but he said he was in a rush. He'll see you his usual time tomorrow. Tomorrow. The prostitute can never get anything straight. Can he come tomorrow? Wednesday's Paul's days. Today you see the furrier. I remember, she says, sitting up. The old furrier, he told me he's coming. Wednesday, and I can't go against him. Paul'll have to come another day. You didn't tell me. If you don't tell me what's going on, I'm going to get things confused. and your Johns will be running into each other. Nana stretches her fatty arms over her head and yawns. 2 bunches of short brown hairs are sticking out of her armpits. I'll call Paul and tell him to come back tomorrow. No, I won't sleep with anyone tonight. Can I afford it? I'll tell Paul to come on Tuesdays after this, and I'll have tonight to myself. Her nightgown slips down her nipples, surrounded by one long brown hair, and the rest of her hair, loose and tousled, flows over her still, wet sheets. Ben, I think feminism is the only thing that matters. Janie, yawning. I'm so tired. All I can do is sleep all day. Only she doesn't fall asleep because she's suddenly attracted to Michael, who's like every other guy she's attracted to, married to a friend of hers. Bet. First of all, feminism is the only possible in a socialist state. Bet. First of all, feminism is only possible in a socialist state. Janie. But Russia stinks as much as the United States these days. What has this got to do with your film? Bet. Because feminism depends on 4 factors. First of all, women have to have economic independence. If they don't have that, they don't have anything. Second, free daycare centers, abortions, counting on her fingers. Fourth, decent housing. Janie. I mean, those are just material considerations. You're accepting the materialism this society teaches. I mean, look, I've had lots of abortions. I can fuck anyone I want. Well, I could. I'm still in prison. I'm not talking about myself. Bet. Are you against abortions? Janie. How could I be against abortions? I've had fucking 5 of them. I can't be against abortions. I just think all that stuff is back in the 1920s. It doesn't apply to this world. This world is different than all that socialism. Those multinational corporations control everything. Louis. You don't just know how things are because the feminist movement here is nothing compared to the feminist movements in Italy, England, and Australia. That's where women really stick together. Janie. That's not true. Feminism is here. Sure, it's not the old feminism, the groups Gloria Steinem and Ty Grace, but they were so straight. It's much better now. It's just underground. It's not so public. Louis. The only women in Abercrombie's and Fitch's films are those traditionally male-defined types. The women are always whores or bitches. They have no power. Janie. Women are whores now. I think women, every time they fuck, no matter who they fuck, should get paid. When they fuck their boyfriends, their husbands, that's the way things are. Only the women don't get paid. Louis. Look at Carter's films. There are no women roles. The only 2 women in the film who aren't bit players are France, who's a bitch, and England, who's a whore. Janie. But that's not how things were in Rome of the time. But Jane, we're saying things have to be different. Our friends can't keep upholding the sexist state of women in their work. Janie. You know about Abercrombie and Fitch. I don't even bother saying anything to them. But Carter's films, you've got to look at why an artist does what he does. Otherwise, you're not being fair. In Rome, Carter's saying the decadent Roman society was like this one. Louis. The one that a certain small group of artists in New York lives in. Janie. Yeah. Louis. He's saying the men we know treat women only as whores and bitches. Janie. So what are you complaining about? Bet. Before you were saying you have no one to talk to about your work. That's what I'm saying. We've got to tell Abercrombie and Fitch what they're doing. We've got to stop portraying women as strong, showing women as the power of this society. Janie. But we're not. Bet. But how else are we going to be? In Italy, there was this women's art festival. A friend of ours who does performance dressed as a woman and did a performance. Then he revealed he was a man. The woman in the festival beat him up and called the police. Michael, the police? Janie, was he good? Bet. He was the best performer there. Louis, I think calling the police is weird. They should have just beaten him up. Janie, I don't like police. I want all the above to be the sun.